We are not only human beings, we are human doings. Mankind loves action. When we marry, we say, "I do." In sports, we say, "Just do it." Even our beverages do the do. But there is no more tragic phrase than, "There's nothing I can do." Not said by a doctor, but when said with soul-searching honesty about ourselves.
It is not right that human beings crawl on the ground all their lives. Through no fault of their own, they got polio, which they didn't ask for. They stepped on a landmine, which they didn't plant. They were in an accident, which they didn't cause.
These people who can't walk have no future, have no life. They're scorned by society. If they go out, they're spit upon, they're kicked, and they just don't have a life. I was a missionary in Africa 33 years. The last 10 years in the Congo, we counted over 5,000 people around us couldn't walk, and they were all out in the dirt where a wheelchair couldn't go. And we thought, the least of these that Jesus talked about, we ought to be doing something about that.
He said, "Mel, there's one more thing we need. I hate to ask, but there's one more thing we need." See, war was going on in Zaire. It was a terrible mess. He said, "We need a hand-cranked, three-wheeled wheelchair, sturdily built, with hauling capacity, when the line of human need crosses the line of our ability to respond." The minute he said we need these, my gut told me, "Mel, you could do that. You could do that."
This is simple technology. Use the term simple technology. It means something. It means the simplest way to arrive at something that's worthwhile doing.
That simple technology became the PET, which stands for Personal Energy Transportation. And the need for pets is great. Worldwide, some 20 million people are effectively immobile, crawling on their hands and knees every single day. As of 2011, more than 27,000 pets have been shipped by 22 affiliates to more than 90 countries. The pets are built by volunteers and are given free of charge to those most in need in areas outside the U.S.
About half of those, rough guess, their legs don't work, but their arms do. They have the strength to crank a pet. Now the other half, legs don't work and their arms don't either, enough to crank a pet. So we have designed and built, and we're shipping around the world what we call a pull pet for them. Our mission, our goal in PET is to provide appropriate, and underline that word appropriate, mobility. So that's why we are not stopping with the crank pet. We go to the pull pet. We have the child-sized pet. And the pet itself, because the bed is made of wood, is very adaptable. So when they get on a pet, they're ready to go.
600 volunteers and many partners, giving the gift of mobility, giving the gift of hope and a future beyond begging.
Two gentlemen in these chairs here, we're going to put them in business with an ice chest so they can go out and sell ice cream.
From ice cream sales with an ice chest, to shoe shines, to delivery services, PET recipients use their mobility to be productive, to earn a living, to be doers. Nancy Ginch is a volunteer from Boone County, Missouri. This is her second trip in a year to Guatemala. Most of these people at PET Distributions have never seen a doctor, a fact that is not lost on her, since 3 months earlier, Nancy underwent cancer surgery.
I told them from the very beginning that they had to get it well and get me fixed so I could come on this trip. I wanted to come back.
Not all who need mobility are able to receive a PET right away.
The only thing that keeps us now from building more pets is money.
Oscar Castillo had to wait 5 years for his pet. He illustrates why not having mobility can be life-threatening. 8 years ago, Castillo climbed a coconut tree for something to eat, but he fell 72 feet. The impact paralyzed him from the waist down. Unable to work, he moved to this homeless camp. Here, people bathe in the same water they wash dishes. Oscar says he spent 5 years here confined to his bed because he could not afford a wheelchair. Bed sores and then infection threatened his life.
I think he already dies, because in bed he have injuries and everything in his back. Because in bed he feels so sad, says, because he wants to go outside of the street and everything, but it's impossible for him.
Even if Oscar could have afforded an $850 wheelchair, it would have been of no use in his village. In poor countries like Guatemala, sidewalks are scarce and roads rough and rocky, terrain that solid rubber-tired pets can navigate.
There's a never-ending number of people that respond to the distributions of wheelchairs and pets, but we know that this is just a fraction.
In Honduras alone, if they were to import 200 pets each month, it would take 125 years to get enough for everyone who needs them. That's the scope of the problem that is worldwide.
Until I left the borders of the United States, I had no idea how difficult it was in the developing world for those who are in this type of situation. But in these countries, in Honduras and Guatemala, Central America, Africa, and all over the world, there's a great need, and certainly for a small investment, you can make a huge difference in the life of an individual and then ultimately their family and all those around them.
An example from the other side of the world is Sovetbek Ordakov. Doctors determined because of collapsing veins that both of his legs would need to be amputated. Afterwards, he did not have enough money to buy a wheelchair. Only recently was he able to lease one, and its tires were in poor condition. This pet vehicle makes it possible for Sovet to work around the house, in the garden, and care for his family.
It is easier to ride on the pet wheelchair than on an ordinary wheelchair. Also, this is like an exercise for my arms. Through it, my upper body will be trained physically.
Sovet and his family are grateful for his pet.
Thank you to all the people who had invented such wheelchair. May God give them good health and good life. Also, I wish to say a word to people with problems like myself. Don't lose courage. Hope for a better future. Try to move forward, and everything will work out well.
Getting an accurate count of those who need pets is difficult, especially with children. Many times they are hidden away in shame.
We work in community-based rehabilitation projects. So we go to the community, we talk with the community, and we try to find the children with disabilities. If we see them, normally they are in their bed. They are just put away. Many times they are still hidden. That's another kind of mobility problem, let's say, because in the mentality of the people, it's a curse or it's a punishment of God to have a disability.
A world away in the Sudan, the story is similar. 9 pet carts were delivered by barge, and little Taban is now able to get around the village.
It's just an amazing thing. From being stuck inside a hut, 24/7, he now can bike over to the church, he can bike to the village market, he can bike to school.
Well, I think because of my disability and being a wheelchair user, it also shows those individuals what they can do and that they are important. And being able to go up and touch them and look into their eyes and actually give them hope. And that's what we're here providing for them, not just mobility and dignity, but hope. Hope for a better future for them.
Again, my perspective of having worked in Vietnam for a while, lived in Malawi, Africa for 2 years with Peace Corps, seen a lot of folks who are disabled, who didn't have the benefit of a pet. And so I have a pretty good feel for how that's impacting their lives. And again, I think there are very few things that we do medically in the third world that are as immediate. You've been crawling on the ground all these years and being carried and drugged and no way to get around. And suddenly somebody brings you a pet, sits you on it, and you go. You know, man, think about that. That's life-changing.
They all bless you, you know. I mean, this is probably the most important day in a lot of these people's lives. And they just, you know, they can't thank you enough. And it's just really humbling to be on the end of that because we have so much.
See, if we have the ability to respond, then we have responsibility. Do all the good you can, to all the people you can, wherever you find them, whenever you can, with whatever you have, as long as you live. Values are very important at PET. Values are very important, and that's why we're here.
Independence, ability to do. That is the essence of human dignity. From I can do nothing to let me do it. From I don't know what I can do to help to here's what I can do. Those are the definitions of both dignity and compassion. PET answers both those questions. So now, here's what you can do.